actually works. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes for y'all to find me. I attempted to use my computer, and the computer, for whatever reason, the audio did not connect. And so I'm gonna try it over here just off of my cell phone and see if that works better. Otherwise, I'm out of ideas. I am not a technologically advanced person. And now I gotta find my tripod wherever I placed that. Let's see. Okay, I got one thumbs up. Hopefully somebody's actually joining me. I don't see anybody. Oh, there's somebody. Let me know if my audio is working over here while I walk around and try to find my tripod, because I had planned to use my computer, and then my computer was not working. And so we're just gonna wander around my house until I figure out what I did with my lovely tripod. I think, oh, look at that. It's right here. I found it. I'm so prepared. There was about 3 or 4 other people that had just finally joined the live, and then everybody was like, there's no audio, I can't hear you. So if you can, in fact, hear me now, please let me know, and I will get myself set up here properly with my fancy little tripod. Bear with me. All right. And my lighting is a little bit awkward, but there we go. Okay, you hear me fine. Perfect, we got something figured out. Thank you, Cheryl. If you want to, let me know where in the world you're joining from. Obviously, we live in northern British Columbia in Canada, and I've always been curious, do I have an accent to you guys who don't live here? Like when I speak in my videos, are you like, oh yeah, she's definitely Canadian? I've always been curious if I speak with an accent or not, because I'm Canadian. And so I am gonna try to get onto my computer here so I can maybe see comments come through here instead of constantly messing around with my phone. But let's see here. Okay, we've got mobile. Let's see if I can. I can. Oh, Cheryl, you're really local. That's awesome. Okay, now I can see myself in 2 different screens. That is super weird. Why is it so delayed? That's weird. Okay, I'm new to all of this kind of live streaming stuff, so bear with me as I figure it out. My members are always super understanding as I muck around with my technology and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And I think that the actual live stream looks like it's delayed, and so it's really throwing me off a little bit, which means you guys are like getting a lag. Your mother was born in Fort St. John and raised out on Taylor Hill. Well, then you know that Taylor Hill is like one of the most brutal areas when it comes to like accidents and winter driving. It's not my favorite. I drive that stretch fairly often when I go to my veterinary clinic, which is in Dawson Creek. I was just there on Monday, actually. Drove like an hour and 10 minutes one direction to go drop off milk samples. And yeah, it was a little bit fun driving in the blowing snow. But what do you do? When you live in the north, you just kind of have to brave the winter weather unless it's really sketchy and dangerous outside. And then you just cancel all your plans and stay put. Your mom lived at the bottom of Taylor Hill and watched the bridge fall down. Oh my goodness, that's terrifying. I really hope we don't have a repeat of history, because our Taylor Bridge is needing some repairs. Every year they shut it down or like do alternating traffic, and they have flaggers, and they have like this big welding company, and they weld all night long for like weeks on end. And everybody jokes about how the Taylor Bridge is now made up of welding rods. It's not actually any original metal left. They just think that it's been so dilapidated that now it's just held together by welding rods. And I don't know if that's fully true or not. All I know is that most of that bridge has been repaired in one way or another. So whenever I drive by it, I'm always like, let's get through. It's not my favorite bridge in the world. And I think because of that experience, I always am, what am I trying to say? I'm always scared of any bridge that I cross now. Yeah, that's crazy. It's close to home. So obviously to you, Cheryl, I don't sound like I have an accent. I don't know if anybody else thinks that I have an accent or not, but I'm sure some words that I say are kind of funny, like about or roof. I think other people say slightly different. And then even across Canada, you can have different ways of speaking English, the joy of the English language. The last car on the bridge at the time she found out after was her brother. That's crazy. That's a lot of, man, oh man, I'd be terrified after that. Yeah, I've had friends who have been in accidents on that Taylor Hill, and in the winter time, a girl that I went to school with, she was in a fatal car accident, and it was heartbreaking to find out. And that's just kind of par of the course with some of those locations. They get so icy, and if they're not on the ball all the time, then accidents are very, very prevalent. And it's like basically a semi truck, a highway. Like we're constantly getting shipments in and out with semi trucks, and so there's big trucks constantly going across that bridge and constantly using the switchbacks. Like it's very, very windy, and they often spin out, they often jackknife. It's not really a great area. I try to avoid it if I can, but when I have to go to the vet or go to Dawson Creek, then I definitely have to use that road, and it's not my favorite thing. Welcome to all of the other people that are starting to join us. We're just kind of opening with just a little bit of chit chat, and then if you guys are here for the actual talking about bottle raising goat kids, then we will definitely have some like random question and answer time as well. If you guys caught my most recent video with Rose's birth, I did just do a couple of notes on the screen for reasons why we bottle raise. I get this question every year. Why on earth do you pull the kids from the moms? Leave them with the moms, leave them alone, stop intervening, stop doing this. And obviously, whenever you share your life on the internet, you're opening yourself up to people's opinions. And that's something that I sign up for when I share my life with the public. And it comes with its great things and great many people, but it also can come with some very interesting comments and some interesting people that come along the way. And so, it's a journey sharing your life on the internet, and it's not something that is always easy. There have definitely been tears that have been shed over people's comments, and I definitely need to have thicker skin for this type of industry and like content creation. And I've come a long way since I've started. There's definitely some comments now where I'm just like, whatever, they obviously don't understand. Or I try to see it from their perspective and what can I explain better to them so that it makes more sense, and I'm helping to educate along the way as well. I'm kind of a teacher at heart, and so I tend to like unintentionally teach throughout my videos, because when I started watching YouTube videos, it was because I was looking for an answer to questions that I had, especially in the beginning of my goat journey. And it was hard to find videos that were actually super helpful. And like most of my YouTube channel is more of a vlog style of just sharing life as it happens and teaching along the way. But that does make it a little bit more challenging for people that are searching for a specific answer to a question. So it's always hard to know how to frame my videos to be able to help the right people, while I'll also like continuing to share farm life with those of you who are genuinely still invested in Little Troyer Farm and the animals that we have here. Just going to catch up on our comments here, because multitasking is not necessarily always my strong suit. One spring it was so bad with caterpillars, it was greasy. Yeah, that stretch of road, Cheryl, is definitely one that we had spin outs happen this last spring because the caterpillars were so bad on the highway, and there was semi trucks that were spinning out because there was caterpillar guts everywhere. It was absolutely insane. Hello, Cassie, welcome here. Cheryl, you're doing really great, and I enjoy watching the births and seeing how you bottle feed those babies. They're so adorable. They are adorable, and bottle feeding is not it's not always easy. It is definitely time consuming, and I have to be here to bottle feed, right? If I know a lot, like some breeders who do kind of the free choice feeding. So they have methods of using like basically a big bucket feeder with like 6 to 10 nipples on it. They fill it up in the morning and they leave it in the pen for their goat kids, and their goat kids drink all day. And then at night they refill it before they go to bed, and then they basically have free choice milk is what they call it. I get really nervous about that because some bottle babies can be milk hogs and just drink and drink and drink and drink until they basically overeat and make themselves sick, and sometimes they even die. I'm willing to try it. I'm not overly confident in how to implement it. The other thing that kind of makes me a little bit stressed is like the milk safety then. If you're leaving milk out for 12 hours, how do you keep that milk from not growing bad bacteria like E. coli or just general food safety, right? I'm not going to leave leftovers on my counter for 12 hours and then go and eat them, which is why I have chosen to do the like physical feeding them 4 times a day or 3 times a day, depending on their age. And yeah, anyways, there's lots of different methods to the madness of bottle raising. And ultimately it comes down to what you want to do for your farm and what your setup is like. I know some people that would really like to bottle raise, but they just can't because they don't have the time. They have to work a full-time job. They're gone 10, 12 hours a day, and it just doesn't work for them to bottle raise. And so as much as I share my opinions and my experiences, I absolutely think that you should do what is best for your specific situation. There is no one size fits all when it comes to raising animals. There's so many different factors like your location, the feed that you have available. And it's just, yeah, like between even northern British Columbia and southern British Columbia, we have the difference of like, we rarely get second cut alfalfa, and they can get like third, fourth cut alfalfa because they irrigate their fields. Whereas we don't do that up here. And our growing season is so much shorter. And so there's lots and lots of different variables depending where you live and what your situation is like. Is it not healthier for the babies to be bottle fed? So that's where we'll let's get into that now of like, what are my reasons for bottle feeding? And if you guys caught my last video, you would have read what am I trying to say? My words are lost. You would have read the kind of the reasons of why we bottle raise. And I didn't write anything down, so this is just kind of going to be off the cuff and off the top of my head. One of the big reasons why I chose to bottle raise or switch to bottle raising is so that I could bump my kidding season earlier in the year. So if I wait until warmer spring weather, at the earliest, I can start kidding like maybe mid to end of April. And when you're trying to get into showing goats or selling performance animals, most people have already made their purchases for the year. And then all of a sudden now your kids are being born and people have already made the decision to purchase all of these other goats. And so if I'm kidding, hello Violet, if I'm kidding at a season where maybe everybody else is kidding as well, and I have kids that are available to sell, then they get to compare and go, well, this breeder has this and this breeder has this. I could purchase this one or this one. And so it kind of puts me in the running with the other breeders who are also kidding at the same time. I can't say like, I don't have enough years of experience and breeding under my belt to be able to say, well, this month works best or this month works best. I'm still in a little bit of the trial period of messing around with the time of year to kid and what's best for the sale then of those kids. So we started bottle raising so that we could kid a little bit earlier. Another big reason was because of, udder health was another big one that I noticed. I had a Nigerian dwarf doe and she had twins in December. And at that point, I didn't need the barn for anybody else. So she was raising those kids in the barn, and at 3 weeks of age, I noticed that she had basically quit feeding them, and the kids were 3 weeks old. And I was like they're actually getting kind of skinny because she's not feeding them milk. And so I put her up on the milk stand, and that's when I realized she had these huge scabs and sores where the baby goat's bottom teeth, because their bottom teeth are like razors, they're so sharp. Their bottom teeth had basically been cutting the back side of her teat on the top. And so she was so sore that she basically outright refused to feed them because she was in so much pain. And that was with me just leaving them alone and letting them do their thing and not intervening. And so I saw the damage that it did to her. And I kind of made the decision of, if I want to raise quality dairy goats that have healthy mammary systems, I'm going to need to bottle raise, or at least do a combination of the two. And because of our winters and the severity of our winters, I can't dam raise babies or even hybrid raise because we don't have the barn space. And our babies are not going to survive outside in minus 20 degrees Celsius. It's just not going to work, especially with the Nubian breed. They're kind of a little bit finicky. I'm not going to lie. The more I raise them, the more I'm realizing they kind of have their own quirks and issues, and you can't really kick a Nubian baby outside when it's minus 20 degrees Celsius and expect it to survive. So I had considered doing both, and then last year I decided just to dive right in and 100% bottle raise my kids. This also provides the opportunity to sell kids at any age. So basically, once they're established on the bottle, then they can go at any point after they've been disbudded, and I've done all of my physical assessments of them, and I think that they're healthy and thriving and ready to go to a new home. And basically, I go from holding the bottle to the kid and I pass it off to the new owner, and then the new owner raises that bottle kid. And so it kind of, again, frees up the opportunity for those kids to not have to wait until weaning time. And for replacement doelings, you should be feeding them out milk for a minimum of 3-4 months before they go. And so now you're raising that kid for 4 months and then sending them off to a new home. And it kind of comes with its own levels of stress. So so we switched to 100% bottle raising last year. I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of work, and things didn't necessarily go the way that I had thought that it would go. I was not able to sell kids on the bottle, like the boys, as pets because it was a very buck heavy year, and people didn't want them in February to raise bottle kids. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe this year I'll bump my kidding back a little bit more so that maybe by spring break, people will be a little bit more interested in having a bottle kid because it's starting to warm up. But I've heard from other breeders that the sweet spot is around Easter. If you have some bottle kids that are ready by Easter, for some reason, Easter weekend, everybody's like, oh, I want baby goats. And then you have a little bit better luck selling kids on the bottle for pet purposes. Let's see if I ran away with all of my own thoughts here. Another issue that we came into, aside from the udder damage and the weaning challenges, was also the friendliness factor. And I know that this is, I guess, the least important to some people when they're thinking about overall health of their goat kids, is thinking about friendliness. But in my opinion, a friendly goat has the best chance at a good life than a goat that's completely wild, that you can't catch, you can't scratch and snuggle it. And they're just so hard to handle for hoof trimming, for medical care, if you need to catch them because something's wrong with them, really for any reason. And in my experience, nobody wants wild goats. And I am one of them. I have gotten rid of and sold goats because they were wild. And they were great in every other way, but they were wild and I could not catch them. And I don't like goats like that. They don't have to come and attack me with snuggles, but at the same time, I have to be able to catch them when I need to do XYZ, give them medication, hoof trim, milking them twice a day. If I have to go and catch them and drag them to the milk shed, then I don't really enjoy that. However, I've had wild goats that are right at the milk shed door, and they get into their routine and they know their routine for milking, and they'll be right there. They'll come in, they'll stand perfectly still for milking, and they'll leave. But if I try to go pet them out in the pen, they will have absolutely nothing to do with it. Bottle kids, yes, they're super friendly, but they can also be very nibbly and very bitey and mouthy. And so that is one of the cons, one of the downsides to bottle raising is sometimes you can have very mouthy kids. I'm of the mindset of you need to teach them manners. And so I am not afraid to give them a little bit of a smack on the snout if they are biting my fingers, or even if they're jumping up on me, similar to a puppy. Either you turn your body away or you actually push them down. I don't really stand still for naughty goat kids. I do have to teach them some manners, just like other goats in the herd would teach them herd manners. And so it's not necessarily a perfect science, but it is important if you are bottle raising that you don't just let them get away with anything, because they are like little toddlers and they will learn what they get away with. And so to make sure that you set boundaries for them, I believe is also important. So the friendliness factor is a big one because I don't want to have wild dairy goats and I don't want to be stuck with wild babies that I can't sell to new homes. Basically, they are destined for meat purposes only when you have wild goats, because they are pretty much impossible to rehome unless they are going to a type of farm where they don't care. It's like, 300 boar goats out in a field and they're grazing and they run them through handling systems. Then they don't care if they have a wild goat. But when you have a small dairy herd like mine, it makes a massive difference to have friendly goats. That is one thing that I really, really value. And it's something that I ask breeders when I'm looking to purchase a new animal. I ask them about their friendliness. I ask them if they were dam raised or hybrid raised, how much were they handled? And then obviously when they come to my farm, those first few weeks is very important to make sure that they associate me with being a safe person. Sometimes that looks like giving them a handful of grain every day, just for them to be like, okay, this person is safe and we can be friends. Frappuccino and Bellatrix, my last two new additions, were both dam raised. And they're not crazy wild. At first, Frappuccino was really wild, and so was Bellatrix. But over time, they have settled in. They've learned their place in the herd, and they actually come up to me no problem. They're not as friendly as the bottle-raised kids that I have, but they're friendly enough that I can easily maneuver with them and not stress them out just by me going out into the pen. Because when you are constantly stressing out your goats, and I'm out with my goats multiple times a day, if they're stressed every time they see you, stress can equal a increased chance of them getting sick or having other issues. And so I don't want to have goats that are easily stressed out just by me being present and me being in the pen. So friendly goats is definitely a big thing. Another huge one is disease prevention. While I do run a completely disease tested herd for both CAE and Johne's, and then if we have any abscesses pop up, then we do test for CL. But all of our results have always been negative for those. But for the intention of minimizing transmission as much as possible, if something were to get flagged, that is part of the reason why we bottle raise, but we also feed heat treated or low temp pasteurized milk. So low temp pasteurized milk, we bring it up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit and we hold it at that temperature for 30 minutes. So it kills a lot of the bad bacteria, potential diseases that can be transmitted to the kids through the milk. And it also does the best job of keeping the nutrients intact as best as possible. However, sometimes when I'm in a rush, I do just crank it up to 161 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 30 seconds and just pasteurize it that way. But for colostrum, I do the low temp always. And even when they're young, those first few weeks of age, I try to feed them only the low temp pasteurized milk. Now, another huge one that is not necessarily a disease, but more and more dairy producers are calling it a disease, is for mastitis prevention. And I know it sounds really, really backwards if you're thinking about, well, like how is feeding milk part of mastitis prevention for these goat kids. Well, if you've been around since last year, you will know that last year I had 2 does, Willow and Sage, develop something called Staphylococcus aureus mastitis. And literally the only symptom was that their udder was lopsided. And so one side was producing more than the other. And I spoke to my mentor breeder and I was like, what's the deal with this? Like, why are they lopsided? I'm milking both sides out completely and yet they're still lopsided. And her response was immediately, I've had this happen and it has come back as a Staph aureus mastitis infection. And I'm like, but there's no other symptoms. There's no clots, there's no flakes, there's no blood, there's no heat, there's no swelling. Like, how can this be mastitis if there's no other symptoms? And so anyways, I took samples from my does and I sent it off through the vet, waited a week for the cultures to come back. And the vet basically called me and was like, Amanda, this is Staphylococcus aureus, and my recommendation is that you cull these animals. Get them out of your herd. You do not want them in your herd because this is so incredibly contagious that it could destroy your entire herd. And me thinking that I knew better, and I really, really wanted doe kids out of these 2 does, and they both gave me bucks that year. I was like, well, what can I do to try to treat them? I'm going to try to treat them and then I'm going to dry them off and hopefully they'll come back just fine in their next lactation. And so I did just that. I treated them with some intramammary antibiotics as well as some systemic antibiotics, and I dried them off as best as I could. Fast forward to now 2026, this year, both Willow and Sage freshened. Sage had a set of beautiful twin doelings, which I was incredibly excited about. And Willow had a set of twins, a doeling, and a buckling. And I was watching them really, really closely for mastitis. Sage freshened with perfect production in both sides. I got a liter of colostrum out of the right and a liter out of the left. And I was like, this is beautiful. She's going to be amazing. She milked out just fine. And I was so excited because I thought that we had done it. I thought that we had treated it, even though it was supposed to be something that was not treatable. And well, unfortunately, within the next 2 days, it was very, very obvious that her left side was producing like 5 squirts of milk. And I was like, what on earth is going on with this goat? Like, this is basically screaming Staph aureus mastitis to me again. And I became really stressed about that. And I continued milking her. And then all of a sudden the milk in the other side, actually that low production side, the milk actually started to get a pink hue to it. So there was blood content in that milk. And became more stressed because I'm like, what is going on? I picked up a California milk test system where it has the 4 paddles and then the solution that you can mix up in a bottle where it's like, put this amount, I can't speak, I'm sorry. Put this amount of concentrate in it and then fill the rest with water, shake it. Here's how you do the test. It's all very, very straightforward. Whereas the one that I used last year was not very straightforward. Anyways, I used that and it was instant. Results were, it clotted and got really, really thick and gel-like, which screams a positive mastitis test. And I went, oh, great, this is not good. And at that point, man, I had not planned to get too deep into kind of our decisions with our does this year, just more so like why do we bottle raise? Well, because of this mastitis issue, I'm really, really thankful that I was already heat treating or pasteurizing the milk, because as I did more research after my does freshened this year, my research led me to information that basically leads me to believe that Staphylococcus aureus can be easily transmitted through their milk. And if those doe kids drink that milk with Staph aureus in it, that Staph aureus can live dormant in their body until that doeling grows up and freshens for the first time. and she can freshen for the first time with roaring mastitis, Staphylococcus aureus mastitis, because she drank infected milk. And so that is part of the reason why Staph aureus is like a wildfire and gasoline type of mastitis. The more research I have done, the more I am a believer that you can't successfully treat this. Maybe if you catch it very, very, very early, like maybe you're doing twice a week California milk tests at the milk stand, and the moment you see even like a slight amount of gelling, you're sending out results through your vet, and as soon as you get those results, you are treating it aggressively. Maybe you have a chance of saving her mammary system. But it causes these micro abscesses to burst in their udder, and it just contaminates. And it has like a, how do I describe it? Basically like a really slimy outer layer of the Staph aureus bacteria, and it does not allow for the antibiotics to actually penetrate it properly. And so you can have a doe that appears to be improved, the symptoms go away, and she's producing like normal again. And so you think, oh, I've done it. Like I've treated her. Now she doesn't have mastitis anymore. But that Staph aureus can flare up at any point again within that lactation or any subsequent lactation after that. And so part of that then mastitis prevention, I feed all of my kids with a bottle with pasteurized milk, because if Sage and Willow had dam raised their kids this year, both of Sage's doelings as well as Willow's doeling likely would freshen with mastitis their first year in milk. And so those are some of the like main super important reasons why I choose to bottle raise. There's other ones like, yes, udder health, friendliness, going to new homes at any age. For another reason for me is ease of weaning. When you're milking dairy goats, you're not just milking them for 4 months and then drying them off, at least not usually. The point of a dairy goat is to milk them, and milk them for even up to like 9-10 months at a time, and even sometimes longer, as long as you give them at least a 2 or 3 month break before they kid again next time. And so they're meant to produce milk. And the problems that I have had, again, in the past when I have dam raised, has been where I pull the doelings at like 4 months old and I wean them. I put them in their own pen for like 2 months, 3 months, and I'm still milking the doe because I need milk for my family. And then I put the does back into the herd after 2 or 3 months, and they instantly will go straight back to mom and start nursing again. And I'm like, I can't have that in a dairy herd when you are trying to keep daughters back, usually every year if you have the right daughters to keep. And they don't often, in my experience, the does have never weaned their own babies unless you have a case like the one with udder damage where the kid's teeth had actually damaged the teat. And so, those are kind of the main important purposes of why I bottle raise. I think I covered most of the important pieces. I'm definitely open for questions from you all. Sorry, I'm just catching up because otherwise I get distracted. Both have their own issues, and bean, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yes, bottle raising or dam raising has pros and cons. No matter what you do, there are going to be good things to that method and also hard things and downsides. Jan, I'm watching from Kingsport, Tennessee, USA. I only occasionally hear your northern accent, like when you just said snout. Oh, really? Snout? That's funny. I enjoy your content, like when baby goats are born and what you're doing now. Appreciate that. Thanks for being here. And Eloin's here from France. I don't know, Coucou de la France? And then Cheryl has a question. So what does this mean for the goat? No babies from her. Now this is one that if you really want me to get into it, I can. However, if you're gonna get nasty in the comments, then I might have to remove it. Basically, I am like 2 days away from receiving milk test results through my vet. So I have not released this video yet because I'm about a week behind, but I'll catch you up on the good stuff now, I guess, because you're all here. And unfortunately, Rose actually freshened with mastitis. And I did not see that coming at all. She was fine last year, but she did have a mild case of mastitis. That's a completely different kind than Staph aureus. And my vet was like, this is super easy to treat. This is what you're going to do. And she should clear up completely fine and not have any issues in the future. So I was like, sweet, fantastic. And for some reason this year, she freshened with mastitis. And so quite obviously, I'm stressed because I now have running rampant mastitis issues in my dairy herd. And it makes me feel like a complete failure. It makes me feel like, what on earth am I doing wrong? What can I do to fix this? What else can I be doing? And so anyways, so she was testing positive for mastitis. So I took milk samples from the does and I took it to the vet on Monday, and I'm still waiting for results from that. Now this is where it gets challenging and people are going to get upset because you guys get attached to my goats just like I get attached to my goats. But in the case of Staph aureus mastitis, I have unfortunately come to the very difficult conclusion that I have to get it out of my herd. And to get it out of my herd, I have to cull the carriers of that Staph aureus mastitis. And I have already shed my fair share of tears about this because walking a perfectly healthy goat to go and be butchered, where they're perfectly healthy, like, you know, in all the ways except for their udder, that is heartbreaking, especially when Willow is a doe that I have raised since she was a baby, since she was only a week old. And the idea of possibly her mastitis results coming back with Staph aureus again means that then I need to cull these animals, because if I don't, it's something that is never ever going to leave my herd, no matter how careful I am, because it is so incredibly contagious. I have to start treating it like it's a permanent disease, just like you would treat any other disease. And so pending those results, we will be looking at culling any does that carry it. And people are going to say, well, what other options would there be? Surely there's another way that you can do it. And there's honestly, there's not. Because if I sell them to anybody else, I run the risk of them not caring for them properly. Most goat pet owners do not have a vet-client relationship where they can get the medication that they need to be able to treat these animals. Now, I could potentially keep them until I completely dry them off and then sell them as a pet. But again, people are also not willing to pay the value of that goat. And I'm not willing to risk selling goats that I have raised and cared for and treated to a home that potentially and possibly is going to neglect them, or they are possibly going to breed them irresponsibly, and then that doe is going to kid, and they're not going to realize that she has roaring mastitis, and that doe is going to die a horrific and painful death. And so I know a lot of people are not overly comfortable with the conversation about death, but on a farm, it is a very, very real part of raising animals. And as much as we look at it through a lens in our human eyes of like, well, but that goat has dreams and they are so excited to turn 5 years old, and oh, but they miss their babies so much, and how dare you pull the babies? We look at it through this humanistic opinion and lens, and we have to stop doing that. Do I care for my animals so much more intensely than you can imagine? And just think about how attached you guys get to them through the screen. I'm the one who's with them every single day, multiple times a day. I'm the one who gives them face scratches. I know their own little quirks and unique personalities. And what I have to say about death on a farm is that my animals are not thinking about next week. And my does that I barbarically took babies from after they kidded, those does are not acting like humans. If you had taken my babies from me, I would not have been okay in 3 days. These does were completely fine, some of them within a couple hours, some of them under 48 hours, and they were completely fine. And by completely fine, they kind of yell for a little bit, but not just like constant yelling. Like they still lay down and chew their cud, they relax, all those different things. But they do, when they see me, because the hormones are kind of raging still, they're like, oh, hi, how are you? And then I come and I scratch them and I hang out with them, and then they're chill and they calm down and then they're fine. But with animals, my goal is always for them to be content, healthy, and well looked after in the time that I have them, up until the time of hopefully only a stressful couple hours where they're transported to a humane and ethical slaughtering facility, and they face a very instantaneous and pain-free end. And then they are utilized not for pet purposes, not for milk purposes, but in the purpose of using that meat to feed my international community here in town. And so that is what happens to the does or bucks, goats that unfortunately either have mastitis, they have other issues, whatever it might be, has been the conclusion that both my husband and I have come to, because we've seen it play out where we've sold a doe to a responsible pet home, and that person breeds them every 6 months, and they never trim their hooves. They have obvious mineral deficiency issues, and I refuse to do that to my animals. And I don't think that death is, like, yes, it's the end of their world, but it's not the end of the world like what we think is the end of the world. They care about being content and cared for in that moment, but I promise you that they are not thinking about a week from now. They are livestock, they are animals. They know when they're hungry, they know when they're uncomfortable or in pain, so they have feelings in that way. But again, we can't humanize animals in the way that I guess that we think that we're humans. And you are welcome to your own opinion on that. But as of right now, that is the plan for any does that do come back positive for Staph aureus mastitis, because it is basically a disease that there is no cure for. And it's never going to go away. It's never going to clear out of their mammary system. And potentially it's going to take down the rest of my healthy goats with them. And I can't let that happen. If I have to cull 2 does to save 12, then I will cull the 2 does to save the 12. And so that's where we're at right now with them. Obviously, I'm hoping that Daisy is completely clear and clean. She has never had a mastitis test run on her before. She has never had signs or symptoms of mastitis, but I sent off a sample for her anyways. And for Willow, I'm assuming that it's going to come back positive because her results last year was positive for Staph aureus. And for Rose, I really don't know. I don't know if it's the same type that she had last year and it just maybe wasn't treated 100%, and so that's why it flared up again this year. But I'm hoping that she does not have Staph aureus, because I really don't want to have to haul all my goats to the butcher. I do not want to do that, but I will if I have to. And it's going to probably cause an uproar on the internet. And some of you guys who are probably biting your tongues and being like, this lady is ridiculous and is so horrible to her animals. All I can say is that this is farm life. And I promise to share the real stuff with you, the hard stuff with you, but also the amazing and fun moments that are along the way as well. This by far the hardest part of farming is actually sharing it with you guys, because I have to somehow frame it in words that makes sense and is educational and wise and not just built on emotional decisions. Like sometimes you have to make decisions based off of facts. And again, I wasn't sure how to share it with you, but because of Staph aureus being something that we will now cull for, Sage was culled in that manner. She was cared for till her very last day, and she faced a very painless and quick end to her life because her memory system was so destroyed by the mastitis. It had so much scar tissue and just contorting in her udder that it's something that she never ever would have recovered from, and she never would have been able to produce at all. And again, with Staph aureus being so contagious, it would have basically, she would have been the gasoline to the fire spreading throughout the rest of the herd. And so we are going to kind of stay tuned, and hopefully results are all good. But like I said, for Willow, I really don't assume that it's going to be clear. I really am expecting that to come back as positive. I'm just trying not to think about it right now, because if I think about it too much and what that means for Willow's future or the lack thereof, it breaks my heart, and I will spend a lot of time crying about it. And I know that you guys maybe think that I'm pretending, but it's not easy. It's not easy making decisions like this, and I don't make them lightly. I make these decisions upon the advice of my veterinarian, as well as talking to other breeders who have decades of experience. If it was something that I could treat, I would throw everything at it to try to treat it. And the reality of it is some things you can't fix. Some things you just can't fix. And we have to just acknowledge that and be okay with that and grieve through it. And so, especially for this year, that's why bottle raising has been so incredibly important as protection for my doe kids, because if I had just left them to dam raise, assuming that everything was fine, I would have essentially killed another generation of goats. And I'm thankful that I have the doelings that I do have, and hopefully they grow up to be strong and strapping little doe kids for our herd, and hopefully we have stopped that contagion from transmitting to those kids by pasteurizing our milk and bottle raising. So it is very, very likely and very possible that by bottle raising these kids, I have saved their lives. And that is something that is not talked about very often, of reasons of bottle raising. But one of you guys in one of the comments in a recent video had said that they had bought a goat kid from somebody who had pooled their raw milk and fed it to the goat kids. And that doe kid grew up for her, and it freshened with roaring mastitis, and she had to cull it. And that's $700 US down the drain, and also the life of an animal that could have been saved by a simple preventative measure. And yeah, that's it's very real. Like, you guys that have owned and raised goats or lived on a farm and dealt with life and death firsthand, you guys understand. And for the rest of you, I can only hope that I shared this in a way that makes sense. Again, you guys are entitled to your own opinions. You do not have to agree with everything that I do, but I try to treat my animals with the utmost respect that I can. And sometimes the most respectful thing that I can do for them, is to provide a safe and ethical and humane end of life for them. And that is just part of life and death on the farm. Just catching up on comments here. Sorry, Elowen, I don't know if I can translate French to English. Maybe courage. Something about I think it's not my fault, and something about courage, and sometimes life is difficult, I think is about as good as my French can get. Cheryl, Amanda, I hatch out my own eggs, chickens, and I cry when I find one of them gone when I go into the coop. So yes, I understand totally. It's very hard. It doesn't matter how small or insignificant the life may seem. It's hard. No matter if you've been birthing goats for 40 years, if you lose one, it's hard and it's heartbreaking. And you know what? That sensitivity and that heart is something that I hope that I never ever lose, because that is part of what makes us human. It's part of what makes us not just a robot without feelings. Feelings are not the end of the world. And I think sometimes we just have to sit in those emotions sometimes, acknowledge it, and then somehow we do have to just move on. But if that wave of grief hits again, to sit in that grief, acknowledge it, say hello, and then we keep going. And that is farm life, is you get knocked flat on your rear end, and then you pick yourself up, you brush yourself off, and you keep going, because there's no other choice. There's a whole bunch of other healthy animals out there that need my care, and I'm not going to let them down because I'm sitting inside crying about the things that I no longer could control. But something that I can control is the spread of this Staph aureus through the rest of my herd. And so I have to do what I can, and I have to just look at it logically and do things according to what my vet's recommendation is. Yep, tough stuff. We who do not live and work our butts off, right, risking farm life, do not have any ground to opinionate about this. It is clear how much you love and how carefully you tend to your animals. Thank you, Hillary. I do appreciate that. I am far from a perfect individual. I think I've hopefully been the first to admit that multiple times. There are areas where I can make improvements, and I am seeing those areas even through this past winter and going, okay, that was not good enough. How can we do that better so that next year we don't have that problem? And so it's about learning, making changes, and moving on, and not just continually beating yourself up for mistakes that you do make, because we all are going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to look back 5 years from now and go, man, I really should have done that differently. Man, I really regret that decision, or what have you. And so it's just, that is part of farm life. And also just the humble beginnings of getting started too, is we can't afford to buy or build a $500,000 fancy barn. Like, that's just not going to happen. And so we do have humble beginnings, but that doesn't mean that we should be neglecting our animals either. And so we have seen some areas that need some improvement and change. And when the snow melts, I'm slightly dreading how much work there is to be done on our farm this year. Like, I can't even begin to explain just how much we need to get done summer of 2026. There is so much to tackle, so much to change, so many fences that we need to replace the wire and put up wooden boards. There's so many trees, dangerous trees that we need to clear. And there's shelter expansion that needs to happen. We need to renovate this new gray shed that we have so we can actually use it for purposes for like kidding, raising kids, so that they have more space to run around. Again, there's just, you see the things that need to change and you go, okay, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to move on and I'm going to make it better. I did not expect to get 3.5 feet of snow in December. Our fences are completely fine, except if we have 3.5 feet of compact snow. And so we had one of our yearling does named Echo. She somehow jumped out of our doe pen and jumped into the buck pen and got herself bred by, I'm not sure which buck. And so I look at that and I go, oh my goodness, I'm such a failure. I should have known that this was going to happen. I should have known that the snow buildup would have made it so that the fence was not tall enough. But what do? there's not really anything you can do other than go, okay, that did not work winter of 2025 to 2026. So for the next season, we're going to fix that so that we don't have this happen again, right? And yes, that is just how we roll around here. We find our ways of things that we need to fix and adjust, and we do just that. You explained this very way. Oops, sorry, I can't read. You explained this very well, and I believe you are doing all you can to save your herd. And I do believe that I am doing the same. Thank you. What's the names for the 2 little boys? Thank you for the English, Elowen. I'm sorry that I can't read French, and this does not have the translate button on it. The one boy has been already, I've received a deposit for him. He gets to go and be a little buck for somebody's very small crossbreed dairy herd, and they're very excited to welcome him to their herd. He's the one with like, he's slightly lighter brown with slightly less white, and they wanted to name him My Cup of Tea. And I just thought that that was super cute that they wanted to call him My Cup of Tea. And he is adorable. He's super smart. He's doing so well on the bottle. The other little boy doesn't really have a name, but it took him like a whole week to figure out how to actually take the bottle by himself. I was prying his mouth open, shoving the nipple in for him to figure it out. And then he'd drink just fine, but it took him a week to actually get the nipple in his mouth by himself. And so I've been kind of calling him Dum Dum some of the times because he's just, it's like he's not all there upstairs. And I'm not sure why some kids are like that. Last year I had one that was not overly bright and we called him Dum Dum. And so for him, I'm looking for basically just an unregistered pet home for him because he's not registered sire breeding material. And so I refuse to register him and sell him to somebody so that he can make a bunch of more stupid, dumb babies. Barney. Well, there we go. We can call him Barney. I'm all for that. We are always very emotional when it comes to our animals, even listening to explain, and you're doing the right thing. I have tears in my eyes for you because it's very hard. It is. Yeah. And thank you for your understanding and not yelling at me in the comments. Although you are entitled, again, to your opinions, and you're entitled to want to yell at me. But please do not just start swearing at me in the comments because that's not very productive. I'm all for having like a productive conversation, or if you've dealt with something like Staph aureus in the past and you have some words of advice and words of wisdom, prove me wrong. Like, prove me that there's another way to do this, and I will absolutely consider it and look into it. But at this point, with all of the research that I have done, there's not really a different decision to be made. Yeah, all of the other goat kids are still here at the moment. I think I said in the one video that Willow's boy has been purchased. He has a deposit on him. He's sold as an unregistered buckling, again, to kind of just a crossbreed farm where they have just a few dairy goats. No worries on your English. Elowen is totally fine. So that's where Wally's going. Wally is heading to a small farm. He's actually going to a farm where the 2 owners are friends with then the new owner of My Cup of Tea. So they're both going to go to their new farms around April 9th is the plan. And I'm excited to hopefully get the odd picture or two as they grow up. Wally is a stunning little buckling. The reason why I was not confident in registering him is because Willow's rear attachments are not very good. And she has these teats that do this. And when you have teats that do this and point to the legs, it introduces more bacteria because that teat is constantly rubbing up against their legs as they walk. And because her udder is not exactly what I want to see, and I don't have any offspring from the sire that I used to determine what kind of improvements he's going to bring, I can't guarantee him as a herd sire. So he's just going to somebody, again, like with a few dairy goats that they don't really care a ton. They already have those strong teat placement and other traits that they want. And so they're basically just bringing him in so that they are not breeding daughters to a daddy, essentially, in their own herd. They're trying to bring in just a new bloodline so that they don't have a bunch of inbreeding is what they're doing in that situation. As far as the doelings, I have not completely decided on who's staying and if anybody's leaving. I had hoped that Rose's kidding would have helped with that. If she had given me a doeling or two, then maybe I would have had one or two to part with. But she had boys, and so that complicates things a little bit. And we have 2 does left to kid. We have Girly, who's due March 31st, and then we have Frappuccino, who's due, I think, April 17th. And so I'm kind of also waiting on them to kid. This year has been a year of patience and a year of waiting. And I've learned that I need to be better at being patient and not just trying to make decisions immediately. Like, you have to wait for your test results to come back. You have to wait for your doe kids to grow up a little bit to determine if they're the quality that you want to keep in your herd. You have to wait for the next does to kid so that you can then decide if you have any doe kids to sell. And so it's just kind of a little bit complex in that regard. Sweet little Ella has an injury to her back right stifle joint. I think she twisted it somehow. Oh, hi. Hi, Peggy. You follow me over on Facebook too, from Quinnell. Yes, very local. But Ella somehow caught her leg in something when she was hopping around being a crazy baby goat. And she has been now limping for almost a week. She received 3 days of anti-inflammatories and painkillers, but I didn't want to extend that treatment because you can actually cause organ damage. And so I really, really didn't want to just continue to give her pain meds for that. She is drinking her bottle completely normal. She's pooping, peeing completely normal. The only thing is that joint is a little bit swollen and she's not really walking on it. And so I have again touched base with my vet and explained the situation with her and asked what she thinks that I should do. Obviously, when you have an injury in the rear like that, we don't know what her soundness level is going to be for her future. And so I'm, again, waiting to hear from my vet if my vet thinks I should bring her in for a physical examination, possibly x-rays. And again, talking about life and death. If it is an injury that she will not recover from, then unfortunately we're looking at euthanasia. And I'm like, I don't exactly know how she hurt herself. I think she just caught her leg when she was jumping and she twisted that joint up in her flank. And now what? I don't know. And so I'm waiting to hear from my vet. She'll probably get back to me on Monday and we will determine the best route of treatment and care for her. But animals hurt themselves. Animals get sick. Animals have issues, and so that's also part of the reason why I have not decided to part with any doe kids, because obviously I'm not going to sell a doeling that has been injured, because I don't know if maybe the weight of pregnancy one day is going to put extra weight on that joint. You know, if she can heal up with no other problems, then maybe she will get to be a part of my breeding herd. But if not, then again, like, we have to start questioning like her quality of life. And I'm really, really, really hoping that it's something that she will recover from. But at this point, I'm in that unknown stage. The waiting game, the more patience, yay for me. But I'm just happy that she is still chugging back her milk and she's very perky, very alert. She is not listless. She still is full of energy. She just is kind of 3-legged right now. And that is hard enough for me to watch, knowing that there's not anything I can do for her. I can't wrap it. I literally can't do anything for it other than just to let her body have some time to hopefully heal. Catching up with comments again. Oh, cool. Cheryl and Peggy are from the same area. That is neat. It's so weird talking to people that are like local, you know, like, I mean, Quinnell's not that far away. I think it's like, is it 7.5 hours maybe? I think from Fort St. John. So technically, like, I've driven through your town before, right? So that's kind of cool. Where did it go? Will we be breeding La Manches in the future? The answer is yes. I plan to be breeding some La Mancha goats. And stemming off of this whole conversation of mastitis and the mastitis issues that I've been having, my research has shown me that La Manchas are very, very healthy goats. They typically have less mastitis issues and a stronger mammary system that doesn't allow for as many mastitis issues. And so I'm really trying to get more into them. My husband cannot get over their lack of ears. He thinks that they look like little dinosaurs, and he thinks that they're kind of ugly. And I told him that it didn't matter what he thought because I'm the one who deals with them every day. So in my opinion, as long as, they're super healthy, they're producing milk, and I like their personalities, I can forgive the lack of ears. But La Manchas are one of those breeds that I think that they're maybe on the rise and becoming more popular as like a homestead goat. They're super cold hardy, which we need up here in northern BC because our winters can be so brutal. We have the one La Mancha yearling now. Her name is Lucky, and I love her. Like, her personality is so quirky, and it could be snowing and minus 30 outside, and she's running around in the snowbank, just completely unfazed. And so I just love her. I just love her personality. I mean, the lack of ears, again, is just, they're a little bit odd looking, but when you really get to know their personalities, it's super fun and they're super sweet. They love to give you kisses, and they love their scratches and their snuggles. And I don't know, I'm really excited to add more to them. I think possibly the bulk of my purchases this year will be La Manchas because I want to give that breed an honest try, an honest effort. Lucky is so cute and curious. Yes, she absolutely is. Cheryl, 5 hours? Is that it? Because I know it's like 4.5 hours from here to Prince George, and Quesnel's further than Prince George. Regardless, we're close. So I've been speaking to my mentor breeder. She breeds both Nubians and La Manchas, and so I've been chatting with her about a buckling. And call me crazy to be talking to her about a buckling when I only have one La Mancha doe so far. But I'm speaking with another breeder who, she has a doe that's due mid-April, and she's one that she's considering parting with. And I think that I'm first on the list to purchase her if she comes available. So she'll be a second freshener this year. And I'm really, really hoping that she decides to let her go, because that doe in milk plus Lucky, plus if I can purchase maybe one or two others from this lady that I'm speaking to about a buckling, then I'd have like a really, really, really high quality starter La Mancha herd. And it would be like a powerhouse La Mancha herd because they're some of the best genetics in Western Canada. And so I'm like sitting here kind of giddy because I'm like, oh, I really hope that this works out. Obviously, the finances also have to work out for me to be able to purchase those. But I'm really, really looking forward to having some reliable milkers in my herd. And I'm so sick of mixing up milk replacer powder for my babies because it is not nearly as good for my goat kids as real whole milk. And I'm so frustrated because I'm milking does and I'm dumping it in the snowbank because, well, for Rose's case, I did treat her with intramammary antibiotics in the meantime while we're waiting for the mastitis results to come back. And I can't feed milk to the goat kids that has antibiotics in it. So I'm literally milking her out morning and night, and I'm dumping about a gallon of milk every day from that goat. And it's just irking me. I just want to have productive dairy animals where it's safe for our family to drink, and I can do fun stuff with the extras like make cheese and make ice cream and yogurt. And right now we're buying goat milk from the store because my does have issues, and they're, number one, not producing very much milk. Number two, are prone to these mastitis issues that I need to get out of my herd so that I can actually get somewhere with my herd, and also have enough milk to feed the goat kids that they've had. There's just a lot of things where I'm like, I'm ready for this nightmare to end. I'm ready for this nightmare to be over and to actually move forward with a really solid and respectable and healthy herd of goats. Like, they are healthy, don't get me wrong, but the mastitis issues is really, really getting to me, and I'm really ready to just have it gone and dealt with and onward and upward. And so that's why the La Manchas are so exciting to me. Like, they produce a ton of milk from these genetic lines that I am looking to invest in. Lucky's Dam, I think, won first place in maybe 2 out of the 3 or all 3 of the rings that she was in at West Nationals last year. A very, very good, strong genetic line there with lots of milk production. And the buckling that I'm hoping to purchase is like, I'm gonna drool and be so excited, because I'm just like, it's such a powerhouse combination of the sire and the dam, and I'm just like, I really, really hope that this works out, because it would just be like life-changing and herd-changing for my La Mancha herd. So don't mind me getting completely nerdy about my goats, because yes, that's about all that I'm thinking about these days, is my goats and the future of my herd. I'm gonna drink my coffee for a hot minute, and if you guys have some questions, now would be the time, and we will start to wind down this live. Thank you so much for being here. I'm happy to hang out for a little bit longer for some more questions or comments or encouragement. If you want to send me boxes of tissues for my future few weeks, then please do that. I still love my mug. No questions from Hillary. I'm honored that you take all this time for us. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I'd thought about like setting some sort of a goal for the chat, or like goal for super thanks or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just hang out. Let's have a good time. Having a live is a little bit different than just like recorded videos, because hopefully you guys get the chance to interact and ask questions and obviously see me in pretty much real time. There is a little bit of a lag, but I think that's just normal for live videos. Ultimately, like, the farm and the farm animals are my responsibility. I had thought about like putting a goal of like, oh, this amount of super thanks, and it would go towards, the vet appointment for the little goat Ella to be able to be assessed by the vet. And I'm like, that's unfair, because that's my responsibility as a goat owner. And if that comes out of my savings, it comes out of my savings. If it means I can't purchase another goat, then it means I can't purchase another goat. Ultimately, what's important to me is taking care of the animals that I have. And again, that is my responsibility. Some of you guys are so generous in like giving through PayPal or little gifts here and there. And it's very much just that. It's like a gift with no expectation. And I appreciate that. I do have different options on our PayPal. Like, if you want it to go towards like farm improvements, general farm expenses, even care for Ladybug, you can like put a little note on the bottom, be like, hey, I specifically want this to go towards you and Stan going on a date night. Like, you can kind of designate it in that way. But I never want you guys to feel like I'm begging for money and financial help. Like, again, this is our farm. Hillary, thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. This is our farm. They're our animals, and it is our job to make sure that they receive the best care possible. And that goes for the hay that we buy, the minerals that I invest in, the vaccinations, the medical care, the herd health testing. Herd health testing this year for my 7 goats was $350. $350. And I was a little choked because I used a new lab, but it was a lot of money. And that's just to make sure that my herd is healthy. And I have to do it again in the fall to test all of my 18-month-old kids. Anyways, I'll have to pool the fecal samples so I can reduce the financial cost, because that was a little bit of a surprise to me to have it be that expensive. But it is worth it, knowing that my herd is healthy and disease-free. And then obviously there's the vet bills. Last week's vet bill was about $150 to purchase some more intramammary antibiotic infusions, as well as to send out the milk samples to be tested for mastitis. And so raising animals is not cheap. Just because I'm a breeder does not mean that I am just rolling in a lot of money and just making so much money by selling kids that does not even come close to my yearly expenses. Maybe eventually we'll break even, but it might take a really long time. People tell me like at least 5-10 years before I break even with my goats, and I am starting to believe them. And I mean, YouTube is fun. YouTube takes a lot of hours with like recording and editing and paying for my software that I need to use to edit the videos and upload the videos. But right now, like with kidding season, the videos are a little bit more popular. They're being viewed a lot more times than just kind of my regular my regular vlogs. So my most recent YouTube paycheck was a little over $200. So thank you for watching my YouTube videos. It went towards herd health testing or my vet bill, my last vet bill. So thank you. I do appreciate it. The comments help and just interactions with it so that it reaches the right kind of people who would enjoy this community. And again, yeah, thank you for being here. I don't see many other questions. Cheryl had bread to do. Well, thank you for joining us, Cheryl. And yeah, just be real. Thanks for this direct. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that. The live. It says, let's celebrate the first super on a live stream. That's so funny. Yes, it's a lot going on and a lot of expense sometimes, but it's my hobby. Everybody has a hobby, right? Like if you crochet, yarn is not free, right? Unless you have some sort of free yarn source, which I can't imagine you have found one of those, unless you're going to the thrift store and like undoing knit sweaters. I've seen people do that because yarn is so expensive. I don't know. Let me know what one of your guys' hobbies are. Obviously, goats are sort of like a hobby for me, but it's also kind of just like a way of life too. And I can't imagine my life without my goats and even the horses in the back too. No hobbies? You guys just sit around and do absolutely nothing? What's the deal with that? Watching farm vloggers? Fair enough, Hillary. I also watch some other farm vloggers. My favorites are definitely like Danelle Woodford with Weed 'em and Reap. I love watching their weekly videos. I've learned a lot from her over the last few years. Not necessarily that I would do everything identical to her, but I have a lot of respect for what they're trying to do with their herd. And I also love watching Sandy Brock with Sheepishly Me. Shout out to both of them. I think that they do a fantastic job with their YouTube channels. They are far more popular than I am on YouTube, but they've also been at it for like over a decade. So I don't know, maybe in 10 years I'll have over 100,000 subscribers. I don't know. I don't really care about the count. I care about like people genuinely engaging and learning something, hopefully. And also like bringing quality and being like, hey, this is what I learned. Like, what do you think about this? And just creating a healthy community. I really love that. Peggy, besides my animals, I am a pet portrait artist and have drawn lots of goats. That's super cool. I will have to reach out to you about maybe doing a pet portrait. That would be super neat, Peggy. I think you've talked about, I don't know if you still have goats, Peggy, or what. I can't remember exactly what the situation was there. You were loving the La Mancha goats, I remember. Hillary, my husband loves hearing your voice in a very respectful way. We're old. Well, from your profile picture, Hillary, you don't look old, but I appreciate that my voice doesn't come across as annoying. Sometimes I like edit my videos and I'm like, how does anybody want to listen to me? This is just rambling and ranting. Farm life. Old picture. Oh, it's an old picture. Well, I don't know. I don't care if you're 20 or 80 or 90. If you find joy in watching these videos and it brings joy to your day, then mission accomplished. Oh, Cheryl's back. I crocheted a lot. Now I do diamond art. Diamond art has been on the uptick of popularity. I'm not sure if I have the patience to sit down and do that, but I have full admiration for people that do. I have tried to knit in the past, and I've made it like about this far into a scarf and then given up. And lately, in the past year, as has many people, I've wondered if maybe I have a little bit of ADHD because my brain is very much a squirrel and it never shuts off, and I'm like jumping from one thing to another. I think that this hobby is really cool, and I try it for a little bit, and then I jump to the next the next thing. So yeah, I don't know what's banging outside. Something's banging around outside. Okay, Elowen, I don't know if is that the same message and then you just translated it to English? I think so. Oh, Cheryl, 2025 was hard for you. Mom passed away in November. It's just been crazy. I'm really sorry for your loss, Cheryl. That's really heartbreaking that you lost your mom. Again, so sorry to hear that. I can't imagine losing my mom. I think about it and then I'm like, I can't think about it because I'm gonna cry. I love my mom. She's amazing. They're down somewhere warm right now. So I sent them a video of their house yesterday because I'm doing chores for them. And I sent them a video of like all of the snow falling and blowing everywhere. Because yesterday it was snowing because March does not mean spring in northern BC. And so I sent her a video of their house in the snow. And they sent me back a video and we're like, it was a video of my dad and they're like sitting on the lake down in the Okanagan. And he's like, hi, Amanda, it's like 19 degrees Celsius here. And we're just drinking a cappuccino by the lake. And they were just cackling and laughing at me stuck up here in the snow. I love my parents. They're amazing. I definitely want to enjoy as much time with them as possible. Hillary, I like to knit, but don't like the things I knit. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. I would love to like learn how to crochet just so I can make little like goat sweaters for my goats. And I don't know, maybe you guys want to learn how to make goat sweaters for my baby goats. I think that would be so adorable. I just don't have a pattern or anything for you to follow. Like maybe I could do measurements. I don't know. That'd have to be like maybe a next year thing. Maybe if people want to crochet or knit little goat sweaters for the baby goats, I think would be just so stinking cute. Elowen, I've been following you since before Ladybug was born, and I still love seeing your life through your videos, the good times and not so good times. I wish there was more good times. Sometimes I feel like I share too many of like the hard things, the bad things that go on, and I never want it to feel like it's constantly depressing and constantly just bad things happening, because I do absolutely find so much joy in life on the farm, even though there are aspects that are really hard. And I don't know if I do the best job of showing both of those things, of sharing the hard, but also sharing the fun and the wonderful parts of it. Hopefully I can improve in that area, because I genuinely don't want you guys to feel like I just hate my life all the time. I absolutely love my life, and I am so thankful that we get to live here, and I'm thankful that I get to share pieces of it with you guys as well. Oh, my phone. My computer just came up with like a memory picture, and it's my daughter's playing a matching game, and the one daughter's crying because she lost, and the other daughter's like smiling because she won. It's trying to teach kids how to like be gracious losers, and that was a memory from last year. I just had a chuckle about that. Elowen, I love traveling, reading, and riding my motorcycle. You sound like a really cool person, Elowen. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would love to ride a motorcycle. I think I get really scared of riding, like hitting big bumps and like getting in a crash. I like the idea of like an open road winding through like a beautiful valley. I don't know. I think I could be a cool motorcycle chick too. I'm too broke for that because I spend all my money on goats, obviously. And by my money, like that means Stan and mine. Like all of our money is one and the same. If any of you are married and concerned for my marriage, we just it's all our money. That's how we view things in our relationship. Peggy, yes, I have had goats on and off for 40 years, and right now, because of our age, we are coming to the end of an era. All my present goats are elderly. This is why I love watching your videos. Oh yes, I think I remember that now. Yours are kind of aging out. It's so hard when it's the end of a season for your animals and an end of a season for something that you really love. I would say you're welcome to come visit, but I'm sure you have friends that are closer by that have little goat kids as well. I know Outlaw Acres, they're close to Kamloops, which is a little bit further down the way. But we got 12 inches in Wisconsin last Monday. Man, lucky duck, hey? It snowed like 4 inches here overnight. We've got a lot of snow, and we're due to get another like 15 to 20 centimeters, or maybe they changed it to 10 to 15 centimeters here on Wednesday. So it's not... Winter's far from over. We're supposed to get like minus 15 next week. And I'm like, why? Can winter just go away and we just start the melt, please? It's going to be so muddy. There's so much snow to melt. It's ridiculous. Would large dog sweaters work? I feel like large might be too big. I don't know. Because I bought like a little dollar store jacket, but it didn't work very good. Like it twisted, so it needs to be something kind of like a tube. But then for the bucklings, the sweaters have to be short enough on the brisket part so that they don't urinate on it, if that makes any sense, because it has to stop before their belly button, otherwise they will pee all over it and soak it. It shows in your videography. I can't remember which piece that was responding to, but I think my love for the animals, I hope. Maybe it shows in my videography. Your love of this life. Oh, okay. Strength and Splendor. Hi, welcome to the chat. 6 does gave me 14 boys, 4 girls, and 1 hermaphrodite. It's been a cold, rough winter. 5 sets of triplets and 1 set of quads. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Everybody that I've talked to has said that it's been a buck year. And so that really, really sucks. I'm sorry that you had so many nuts born on your farm. If you guys remember, a little side quest, but if you guys remember Rebel Rose, my Nigerian dwarf last year, she had a set of triplets, 2 bucklings and 1 doeling. That doeling, her name was Victory, and she was sold along with Flower, who was Bambi's doeling, along with Rebel Rose and Bambi. So the 4 of them went to my neighbor, who ironically is also named Amanda. They're like 2 minutes down the road. And I was over there just the other day because Victory, the one doeling that I raised, she was getting close to kidding. And I wish I could show you guys the picture, but she sent me a picture of her udder, and I was just like, oh my goodness, that's a beautiful udder. And so I went and I kind of chatted with her. I felt her ligaments, and I was like, if like my guess is correct, she's going to have these kids within 48 hours. We were both kind of thinking she'd have triplets. She was pretty nice and round, but she also packs in the groceries. So we're like, well, maybe she'll only have 3, unless they're like really small. Anyways, Flower had her babies, and this was this lady's first goat delivery ever. And Rebel Rose's daughter, Victory, had 4. She had quads, her first delivery ever. She's a first freshener, she had quads. And of course, this individual is struggling a little bit with some of the basics with goats, and she thought that because they had teats, that they were all doelings. They were all 4 bucklings. She had quad bucklings, and I was just so heartbroken for her that they all had nuts. I was so sad. But like everybody I have been talking to, they've been having triplet bucklings, twin bucklings, quad bucklings. And I just count myself super lucky and blessed that we had any doe kids born at all, because like last year was already such a buck heavy year, and now this year everybody's just having bucks. And so that's like super rough when everything is born with nuts. I'm really assuming that Girly's probably going to have boys because she was bred both days of her heat cycle. And typically if you want to do the doling method, I think that the sun is trying to melt snow, and I think that's what I'm hearing outside. The doling method is like breed them as early as you can in their heat cycle and only breed them like twice. And for Girly, I was just wanting to get her bred. And so I bred her multiple, or not I, but obviously paired them up. They bred multiple times the first day and then multiple times the second day. She's the one that was bred to both Ken and Henry, both my junior or like yearling bucklings now. And so if she has any doe kids, we'll have to DNA test them to see if like who's the daddy. So that'll be kind of fun. I've never done a who's your daddy video before, and so that'll be kind of interesting to see what happens there. I'm hoping she doesn't have bucks, but with the way that everything's trending, I kind of assume she's gonna have boys. I missed a couple comments here. Cheryl, my sister disappeared November 18th, 1992. My mom passed away November 18th, 2025, and I had said she was coming to get mom, and she did. Oh, man. Cheryl, it sounds like November 18th is a very, very challenging day for you. I can't imagine having a sister disappear like that. My heart goes out to you very much. Strength and Splendor has 2 does to go in May. Very cool. Well, I guess, yeah, our last doe isn't Frappuccino. It's Echo in July, because that was unplanned and an oopsie. Because yay for oopsies. Peggy, I missed it, but are you talking about goat sweaters for the babies? I used sweatshirts, cut the arm off. How does this work? I used sweatshirts, cut the arm off, the wrist was the neck, then you could cut a U where the bucklings pee. Very easy. That's a great idea. I actually could see how that would work. Like a little tube sweater. That'd be cool. I could hit the thrift store and get some cheap sweaters for them if I needed to. Our barn stays pretty warm unless it's like a blizzard and blowing cold air through the gaps in the barn, which that's another issue that needs to be addressed this year, because we definitely had some blizzards that were causing problems for our barn and making it was just too drafty. And I think that's what caused little Spotty to get pneumonia. Thankfully, she's all good now. Strength and Splendor, that's what your quads were too. Gross. Yes, Echo is the one that just escaped and got out into the buck pen. Yep, so she's due, I think it's July 23rd, and we are not home the week before that because my cousin is getting married. So we're going to be in Saskatchewan, and I'm going to have a house sitter. We're going to be home for like maybe, I think probably 3 or 4 days before her due date. And thankfully, usually first fresheners don't go right on their due date. Sometimes they go overdue. But I'm like panicked a little bit. I'm like, what if she kids while we're gone? That would be not the greatest situation. If she did, she would just have to dam raise, because I would not be able to put that on a house sitter to make sure that they get enough colostrum. She would just have to keep him on her until we got back. I don't foresee that happening, but obviously goats sometimes have a mind of their own. But yeah, we're still waiting to see if Echo goes back into heat. If she does go back into heat, then she was not bred. Yeah, but we won't know that here. I would have to check my calendar when she's due to go back into heat. It's probably right around now. I don't really keep track because she's so loud when she goes into heat. It's very, very obvious. Peggy, I forgot you would need to cut 2 holes for the legs. Yeah, I kind of assumed that they would need some leg holes, and that would be a pretty easy fix. I love that suggestion, though, if it's too chilly for them. I find, like, especially when they're, like, newborns in that first week, they don't have the body fat on them to keep them very warm. Once they're big, then it's a little bit easier for them to stay warm. But when they're really little and that newborn scrawniness, then I find that they sometimes can get a little bit chilly. All right, about 5-10 minutes here, and then we're gonna wrap up for good. So if you've got any burning questions, make sure you ask them now. Oh, Cheryl. Yes, it is. And I raised her 2 kids. They were 8 and 10 at the time. Oh, well, God bless you for raising her children. I have so many burning questions about that situation, about like how your sister went missing. Like, is there still like an open file about it and all of that kind of stuff? But what matters most is that's a really, really hard and crappy situation to go through. And so many blessings to you for raising her kids, stepping in and doing that for her. Would have been just such a massive sacrifice, but I'm sure that she would have just been so thankful that you stepped in that way for her. I have a niece or a nephew that's due to be born in the next probably week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And that will be how many grandkids for my parents? I think that's number 14, maybe. There was a season where my siblings and I were all having kids at the same time, and there was like 12 kids under the age of, I want to say they were all under the age of 5, maybe. It was like chaos at family gatherings. We'd have like family supper, and there was just like a whole bunch of toddlers and babies crying, and oh, it was a great time. Now the oldest is like, I think 8 or 9. I don't know, I'm starting to lose track because life is crazy and everybody has a birthday every year and I can't keep track of my own age, let alone all of my nieces and nephews. It's crazy. The rest of my day is going to be probably go outside and try to get the shelter cleaned out again. The does are going through so much straw and making a mess of their shelter, which is not good for udder health. So I'm trying to figure out how to make a solution for keeping the milking does separate from everybody else, because everybody else is destroying the bedding so fast, and I need to be able to keep my milking girls extra clean. And we're out of our straw round bales, and so I'm using like the squares, and it takes like a whole square to bed the shelter, and so it's starting to add up really quick in bedding costs, especially when they soil it within like 48 hours, and it gets really gross super fast. Strength and Splendor. My husband and I have 10. Our youngest is 2. Oldest almost 25. 2 grandbabies so far. Hold on. My husband and I have 10 kids. Okay. I was trying to read that properly. I was like, what? Your youngest is 2 years old, and your oldest is almost 25 and 2 grandbabies. So that's interesting. Some big families have that very commonly happen where like the youngest sibling is like 2 years old and they're an uncle or an aunt to a kid that's their age or sometimes even older. One of my aunts and uncles, they had 12 kids over the course of, I think it was like 24 years. And it was pretty... The oldest didn't get married until a little bit later in life. Otherwise, their kids would have been growing up at the same time. Yeah, big families are fun. I could get into talking about our family. At this point, we will no longer have any more biological children. However, my husband and I have both talked about the potential of looking into fostering or adopting wherever our good Lord Jesus Christ leads us. At this point, we're not pursuing anything like intentionally at this point, where we're just kind of trying to figure out where we're at right now with a few different things. And obviously like house space, like we could make it work, but we already are feeling a little bit tight in here. Obviously you can make do with a lot less space, but we're blessed with our 3 wonderful, beautiful daughters. And it just physically, it was one of those things where we made the decision to not have more babies. Pregnancies was very, very, very hard on me and my body, and I was so sick. And then all of that was also then very hard on our marriage because I was basically, incapacitated for several months. And it was just, at some point, we just had to make the decision for my health and our family's health that we would not have any more babies of our own, but not to say that we are not open to welcoming a not biological child into our family. We just don't have peace about that decision yet, and so we're still waiting and open to the idea should we desire to pursue that down the road. Cheryl's following up with this question. They know she was murdered, and yes, their file is still open. And they know by whom, they just can't get the proof or body. Oh my goodness. That's so sickening that there's such sick individuals in our world. Most recently, actually just 5 minutes down the road from us, we had an international student murdered at Charlie Lake boat, not the boat launch. That's what I'm trying to say. The boat launch. There was like a group of 10 or 12 other guys, and they harassed him. And yeah, anyways, they murdered him at the boat launch. And I have taken my family there many, many times. I take my kids to the playground there, and it's just so horrific when just horrible, horrible stuff happens so close to home and within your own family. It's just absolutely heart-wrenching, the evil that's in the world. And I don't know, maybe as like an encouragement to you, go smile at somebody, go offer a compliment, help somebody with their grocery cart. Just don't get accused of stealing their groceries. But if we spread kindness and consideration, show extra patience, we never really know what somebody else is going through. That's something that always hits me, is that like we know what's going on in our own lives, and sometimes we can be short-tempered or frustrated with other people, like a grocery teller or the waitress or whoever it might be, but we don't know all of the stuff that they're going through too. And I think as people, we need to be more understanding and considerate of others that we come across their paths with. Hillary's youngest sister was younger than her oldest niece. Yeah, that's crazy. I do have a lot of things to keep me busy. A lot of things. Elowen, in any case, thank you so much for sharing this. Take care of yourself and your loved ones and the animals around you. You have my full support. Thank you so much for being here, Elowen. We are going to wrap this up. I've been saying that for a while now, but for the 10 of you that have been hanging out with me, or the ones that have kind of popped in and out, thanks for joining this live. You guys, I had a lot more nerves about it going into this. I was very nervous, being like, oh my goodness, is this going to go okay? Or is it not going to go okay? Sometimes the chat is super quiet. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your input. And thank you so much for your support and being here. I'm glad that those of you, that some of you caught it and got to hang out with me for a little while. It's always a little bit nicer than just seeing the videos. There is more videos to come, but you guys have been pretty much caught up on the most latest things that have been happening on the farm. And now I get to hang out by myself for probably a couple hours while my husband has the kids. And so it'll be nice and quiet. Nice and quiet? It'll be quiet. Thanks again so much for being here, and I will talk to you guys again soon.